Thanksgiving is that wonderful time of year when a giant table full of food just sort of shows up. Except it doesn't just appear. It had to be made and crafted and created and planned and scheduled and arranged and stored, and there's a lot that goes into that. I'm going to talk about making this Thanksgiving fabulous and as stress-free as possible, with some tips on organizing the day and organizing the week, and actually even starting the week before. Planning for success is the best way to make sure we get some. The Culinary Libertarian Podcast, episode 60.
Welcome to the Culinary Libertarian Podcast, where the philosophy is free, but the food is on you.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the podcast. Dan Reed here, the Culinary Libertarian. Happy to have you here. Happy to be here. I've made a few adjustments to the podcasts page, culinarylibertarian.com/podcasts. You can still find all the previous episodes listed there, but I've moved the podcatcher links, the Patreon, PayPal, and Bitcoin links, and the e-cookbook link to the support page, culinarylibertarian.com/support. I've been mentioning my e-cookbook, Foolproof Muffins, Recipes That Work Every Time, and some of you may not have gotten the book who meant to. I just discovered that was a dead link. So all this time I've been sending you to a link which didn't work. I'm a bit embarrassed and very sorry you didn't get what you expected. That seems like dirty pool, and that was not the plan. So the link is fixed. You can enter your email address and be redirected to the download page and get your Muffins e-cookbook. Again, I do apologize for the frustration you might have had in not getting it and not knowing what's going on. It's because of me. I fixed it. Savory Spice is my go-to spice company, and they're having a sale through the end of November, on November 30th, 2019, for free shipping on all orders of $25 or more. Savory Spice has a maple turkey brine kit for your bird, and yes, I am a big fan of brining, as well as the seasoning mixes I've mentioned. I really like the Mount Hood toasted onion on my hamburger or meatloaf mix, but also in the onion chip dip recipe for a little extra pizzazz. You can also find Christmas gift sets such as salt kits or other spice or barbecue packages. Use my affiliate link, and when you get to the Savory Spice page, the discount is automatically applied. Easy peasy. Click on over to culinarylibertarian.com/savory Thanksgiving. That's culinarylibertarian.com/savory Thanksgiving, and flavorize, that's a cook term, your Thanksgiving dinner. It's a solo episode today, folks, in two parts. The first part is just a discussion about getting organized, getting your mise en place in order for a successful and as stress-free as possible Thanksgiving week and, of course, Thanksgiving dinner. The second part of the show is last year's episode about the first Thanksgiving, both of them. So, of course, we know about the feast, which is what we're getting ready to do, but there was a giving of thanks before the giving of thanks for the feast, with the feast, and that's an interesting history to know, and I think it's actually an important and relevant history to know, and too few people, I think, are even aware that that exists. So we're going to remedy that and get ready for the Cook's Busman holiday. This is it's work and pleasure kind of at the same time, and it can go well or it can go badly. So let's stack the deck in our favor, which is what the first part's all about, getting to success. So Here we go. All right, folks, today is all about Thanksgiving. I'm doing two parts. The first is about Thanksgiving prep, and the second is about the first Thanksgiving, which is not the first Thanksgiving, but the second Thanksgiving, but that's the one that we celebrate. Got that? On to dinner. And I know this is a bit early, but I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to listen and to download what the PDF prep list I'm going to talk about in a minute, so that there's time. As I'm about to tell you, there is a method to success. The key, as it were, to getting Thanksgiving dinner on the table with a minimum of stress is mise en place. Everything in its place. Since there is usually far more food and people than a normal dinner night, getting ready is a big challenge. I make prep lists and hang them in plain sight in the kitchen so I can cross off what's done, see what's next, and organize my tasks for some sanity. If your kitchen is like mine, it's too small. It's too small for all of the things that have to be done in one day. Add to that there simply isn't enough time or spousal tolerance to do all those things at once. So, we plan and stagger our tasks. Starting at least 1 week out, buy and thaw the turkey. Now, that far in advance, the bird can thaw in the fridge perfectly fine. It's going to take some space, but it's going to be okay. Thawing poultry, thawing any meat, but particularly the bird, is best done low and slow. So from the freezer into the refrigerator for several days is fine. Leaving the bird out overnight? Yes, my mother did that and yours did too. Not the first best choice. A frozen bird will take several days to thaw, which is why we want the fridge. I brine my bird and give it a good overnight brining, somewhere between 12 and 18 hours. To do that, I use a 5-gallon bucket and the gift of cold from Mother Nature to brine it and store it outdoors. Now, this is the first challenge of Thanksgiving, space management. The outdoor brining thing, that's great if you're somewhere north of the Mason-Dixon line where it's cold enough at night to do that. If you're in, say, Texas or Arizona, Florida, it's not going to work. If a 5-gallon bucket doesn't fit in your fridge, find something that does, or you can go without brining, which is, of course, an option. Monday is not too soon to start some of the prep, which can last for a couple of days. So stocks, pie dough, puff pastry, candied pecans or candied peanuts, or pistachios or cashews, whatever you have. Those can be done on Monday, and the candied nuts, something to snack on. Also, Monday is a great day for getting organized for Tuesday and Wednesday. And part of that organization is back to mise en place, which I mentioned a few episodes back on the cake mixing and baking. The physical mise en place, the stuff on the counter, the stuff in the fridge, the things you can hold, is one kind of mise en place. So if you need it, make sure it's where you can get it. The other mise en place is mental mise en place, which is thinking about not just what you're doing and where the stuff is, but what's next. What is the order of operations for the day? If chicken stock is going to take 4 hours to cook, including straining and cooling, and you save that till 9 o'clock at night, well, that's poor time management. Things that take longer should be done sooner in the day so that they can finish and you can go to bed, because, we like that. So the mise en place, physical and mental mise en place, using Monday to figure out what's doing on Tuesday and Wednesday is a good use of Monday time. So with those two kinds of mise en place, organizing our thoughts and organizing our tools, we can begin getting ready for our big Thursday day. a couple things just to think about as we're going through the sort of inventory of the physical mise en place and thinking about our mental mise en place. It's often been the case that when Thursday dinner's done and it's putting away time, well, there aren't enough containers. So no doubt you'll be going shopping for all of your things. Pick up a couple of extra packs of containers for storage. We happen to be fans, I am a fan of a particular kind of luncheon meat that comes in a snap-top red-lidded container, which makes a very handy storage vessel once you've eaten the lunch meat. And I have seriously dozens of them, and I use them all the time because they stack nice. They have room for a piece of tape to label on them, and you can freeze them, cool them, and microwave them. So I'm thrilled. Buy the container, get the meat for free. So let's start with Monday again. Monday is our catch-all day. We're going to do our shopping that we didn't do if we need other stuff, which is part of our mise en place. Things we've overlooked, things we need to go back and get. Going to look over our prep list, counting for every main thing on our list, as well as maybe even some of the less main things: baking soda, baking powder, salt, pepper, flour, eggs, butter. Those are the main things. You're making a chocolate pecan pie. Do you have the chocolate? Do you have corn syrup? Do you have the pie pan? The more details you include on your prep list, the more information you're going to have about what you need and where it needs to be when you get to do the thing. Now, I don't write the actual recipe itself under any particular thing. So let's take that pecan pie. So pecan pie is the heading underneath, kind of like making an outline in 10th grade English. The next line below is indented once, and then in just no particular order: pecans, pie crust, corn syrup, eggs, salt. It's going to need a crazy. It needs sugar, so much sugar. It's insane. The sugar, if you're going to do chocolate, what kind of chocolate? We'll put that on your prep list. So when you're looking at that item, you know the things you need to have, and then the recipe can be just in a packet of recipes for the day, either in the. I would put them in a binder, but I actually wouldn't leave them in the binder because it takes up too much space on the counter. So in the binder, in those sheet protectors is a really good idea because there's bound to be spills or wet spots of who knows what egg or milk or cream or coffee or, champagne. And then your recipe gets wet and the ink bleeds and, so we can avoid all of that craziness. Everything that you're going to need on the list, I leave those out of the plastic thingies so that I can mark the lines off. Now, here's a little trick I do is I put nearly everything I can think of on the list just so I can cross it off. So the more Sharpie lines that show up on the page, it's like, wow, hey honey, look what I did today. Don't tell anybody. It's our secret. Shh. Tuesday is prepping to prep. If you're going to make green bean casserole, which I love, but I don't like canned soup, this is a good day to make the sauce soup base ahead of time. It's going to be fine for a couple of days. You can clean the mushrooms, make the sauce, make the roux. You can blanch the beans. You can pick the beans and cook the beans, get those ready. Have everything ready to go. I have tried on several occasions to make my own version of the French fried onions that go on top. Well, one of the impressive things about commercial anything is that they have mastered consistency. Well, the French onion people have mastered consistency, and I can't do better. So we buy the commercial onion stuff on top because I can't improve on it. So in that case, that's what I do. Tuesday is also a good day to make the pizza dough for Friday Thanksgiving leftover pizza. Tuesday is a good day to bake the cornbread and toast the bread for the dressing. I don't prefer stuffing. I'll talk about that in a minute. And also, if you're going to make your own cranberry sauce, Tuesday's a good day for that. Now, of course, depending on the size of your menu, the number of people coming, some of these things can be saved until Wednesday, but I find that sometimes Wednesday brings its own set of surprises or inspirations and things that we just have to have that, oh my gosh, look at all the time I have. Let's make something else. So desserts are often those things that are inspirations, and desserts certainly don't get better if they're baked on Tuesday, waiting for Thursday. So desserts are things that if I have to do it, well, let me rephrase that. If I can do it on Tuesday for Thursday, I will. Like, for example, a cake, bake that and then decorate it on Wednesday because cakes like to be nice and cool. They don't like, buttercream does not like warm cake. No. Pumpkin pie is better Wednesday than Tuesday. Pecan pie, with all this sugar, it doesn't really make a difference. So you decide on your own schedule, but baking tends to be a Wednesday thing because, of course, Thursday, the oven is busy. Wednesday is also the day to brine the bird. You can make the brine on Tuesday. You can make the brine on Tuesday the week before. It's not going to go anywhere. The brine recipe I use and the Thanksgiving pizza recipe are all on the Thanksgiving tab on the blog, which is culinarylibertarian.com/holiday. I've got most of my holiday recipes are there. I know that I've added some stuff in the last year, some of it in the last few months that hasn't been included on that, and I will endeavor to fix that. But most of the stuff is there. And my tip for the turkey is to pat it dry after it comes out of the brine. I like to butter the skin for a little extra browning, and, it's butter. And also, the butter is a good way for the skin to hold the salt. Now, hang on there, Reed. You just took that turkey out of a brine. I did. I took the turkey out of a brine, but brines don't actually make the meat salty. The brine I use is a combination of sugar and salt, and it has a lot of chemistry going on in the meat, holding the water in, but it doesn't actually, even though the sodium going in, it doesn't increase the sodium salty flavor. And besides, the crispy skin with some salt on it is just maybe the best thing there is. So, a good pat dry butter, you could use rendered bacon fat, you could use rendered poultry fat, it doesn't really matter, something to hold that salt on while it starts to cook. Thursdays is dessert baking day. If you do it on Wednesday, but you're gonna have, you and the clock are not gonna be friends. So if you can do that, so let's just take a second here. Rolls. Dinner rolls, if you bake them on Wednesday, you can underdo them like a minute or 2 minutes, let them cool, wrap them in foil, and then just before you're ready to serve, put them back in the oven on Thursday so they get all nice and warm and just, man, it's a warm roll. What's warm roll and crispy, salty skin? That's pretty much all you need. Oh, and wine. For the turkey. So now we're moving into Thursday a little bit. Generally, a turkey is roasted for 18 to 20 minutes per pound. That time frame is for birds which are not stuffed. I love dressing, but I am no fan of stuffing. And it's not an objection to the product. It's an objection to the change in how the heat sees the bird and how the heat almost always must overcook the bird to ensure that the stuffing is to the proper temperature. So think about that bird with nothing in it, or maybe you put, an apple and an orange and a leek inside the cavity to sort of steam and infuse a little bit of aromatics into the bird, but that's not the same thing. If you're taking stuffing and putting it in the cavity, as far as the heat is concerned, you have now taken this thing which was hollow inside and made it solid inside. So the heat now has to get all the way in the middle, but to get all the way in the middle has to go through all the stuff on the outside at first. So the turkey breast is you're gonna make shoe leather just to make sure that stuffing is to the proper temperature. And therein lies my principal problem. Overcooking the bird to the point of irredemption, to invent a word maybe, is just such a bad decision that we can fix that choice and serve both of those components in much better fashion. We make a dressing, we put it in a separate pan and bake that, and then that's the thing. Plus, it makes really spectacular pan-fried, crispy leftovers the next day. So we don't stuff our birds. So aside from the trimmings and the turkey sandwiches the next day or Thanksgiving pizza, one of the other very infamous traditions for Thanksgiving is food poisoning from poorly cooked stuffing or leftovers left over too long out of the fridge. Sanitation, even in a turkey coma, cannot be compromised. So we're going to get back to that in a minute. Let's go back to the bird. If you bought a turkey with one of those pop-up thermometer thingies, pull it out and with great ceremony, throw it away. I prefer an instant read. Well, the reason throw it away is they're set to pop out when the turkey breast is already overcooked and can't be saved, and there's nothing you can do once that happens. So they're setting you up. Yes, you won't get sick, but you won't enjoy your turkey. So throw it away. I prefer an instant read thermometer. Now, there are several issues at once to deal with when roasting a whole bird, and those things do bring a challenge. The first one is the breast and leg thigh quarters don't get done at the same time. So that whole roasted bird on the platter, on the table, man, it does. It's a very impressive appearance. It looks great. It's the Norman Rockwell pictures. It is all of the nostalgia and, well, let's say it, Americana of the past. But something has to give. Either the thighs are underdone, and that's just yuck, or the breast is well overcooked, and that's just yuck. So visual presentation aside, and aesthetics are important, believe me, if anybody knows that, it's me, but there's also something about let's have some palatability to our food. So the way we can get around this problem is to separate the whole breast cavity with the backbone intact and the thigh leg quarters. You can pull them off. You can cut them off. If you can't do it, send me an email. I'll make a video for you. It's very simple. It involves a sharp knife, but you'll be fine. Then on two separate pans, we can roast the breast cavity and the leg quarters separately and pull them out of the oven when it's time to pull them out of the oven and leave the other one to cook so that everything is done and we can still make a nice presentation for the table because we want to see that. That looks nice. So the overcooked bird, even a brine can't really save that. It helps, but it doesn't fix everything. I cooked the turkey breast to 155 degrees, measured with my instant read thermometer, and removed the turkey breast from the oven, cover it with foil, and no kidding, let it rest 20 minutes. I know that sounds crazy. Like, well, it's going to be ice cold. It's not really going to be ice cold because that solid turkey is very dense meat, and it's going to hold that heat, and it's going to actually increase in temperature, depending on the size of the bird, at least 10 degrees. So you pull it at 155, it's going to go to 165, possibly 170. And in the course of sitting out of the oven, a couple of things happen. One, the temperature is rising, and at some point it's going to taper off, but it's going to hold. It's not going to go back down. It's going to be 40 degrees. It's going to stay warm, hot for a while. But the other thing that's really important for the palatability of the bird is as the heat is in the oven cooking the bird, roasting or sauteing with high heat and protein is an extraordinarily violent thing that's going on inside the protein. And when it's done, there's this molecular chaos inside. And if we take that bird out of the oven and cut it right away, in mere minutes, there's just liquid everywhere. And that's not good. Everything that comes oozing out of the bird is stuff that's supposed to be in the bird. And when you cut it the next bite and it's as dry as sand, well, yeah, because everything that made it juicy is somewhere not in the bird. Letting the bird rest 20 minutes, possibly 25, lets all of that stuff, all that juice redistribute back into the turkey breast where it's supposed to be. So then we have a juicy, flavorful, palatable slice of turkey breast, which also makes superior sandwiches the next day. The turkey leg quarters, I want to pull them at 180 degrees, which is a giant difference from 155. Let them rest also for at least 10 to 15 minutes for the exact same idea. We want the juices to redistribute inside the meat. Now, dark meat, for a variety of reasons, tends to be juicier and more tender than white meat. That may be for another episode, but different cooking times, letting them both rest for redistribution. This isn't a socialist turkey of juices so that we have really good bird. Well-rested turkey breast is going to be, well, it's going to be that M word. That M word that rhymes with hoist, that when I say it makes my wife's eardrums itch. She hates it when I say moist. Moist, moist, moist. Turns out that's the thing. If you've ever been to Aunt Jean's house and seen that platter of, it's like a moat of turkey juice, well, you know, we love Aunt Jean a great deal, but Aunt Jean cut the bird too soon, and we're going to avoid all of that by letting the bird rest. One last tip for the breast is to remove the wishbone before you brine it. Now, if you're not really comfortable using sharp knives really close to your fingers, and believe me, that makes perfect sense. It's not a normal thing. Send me an email. I'll work on a video. It's not really hard, but it's an unusual thing to do. But the reason we want to remove the wishbone before we roast it is when it's roast, if you've been the carver, you carve, and then to get that nice slice, there's wishbones in the way. And you say, boy, I sure wish this wishbone wasn't here. Well, we're going to grant that wish preemptively by taking it away, and that facilitates a much nicer carving of the turkey breast when it's at the table ready for everyone to eat. All right, on to some sanitation. Some of the stuff is fairly obvious, but it's worth reminding because there's a lot going on. Start with a clean kitchen. Wash the counters, wash your hands, put everything away, and organize your setup. You baking desserts, you're going to need racks on the counter for the desserts to cool. A garage, if you have one, or an outside with a protected area is a great place for items to cool. If you've either overrun yourself in your kitchen counter or you don't have a lot of kitchen counter, there's a lot that you can make those things, press them into service for places to cool and let things rest. Clean down between projects. one thing's done, or if you've got a couple of things happening at the same time, because the nature of what you're doing, you can do that. When that's all done, stop, clean everything up, put all the dirty stuff in the sink, maybe need to wash dishes and get those dirty things back to being clean if you don't have enough mixing bowls or whatever the things are, and start all over again with the clean kitchen. Make sure you have your bags or your snap top containers or your leftovers containers, whatever you're going to use, tape, Sharpie, all that stuff is ready to go. So as you're doing your prep and your quick word, containerizing all your stuff, you can label it so you know where it is and what it is. The same thing is going to apply for all the containers and all the bags for after dinner Thursday when it comes time to put the leftovers away. So containerize everything, label everything, get everything cleaned up before you start your game of Cards Against Humanity. And save the turkey bones for the stock, which is an absolute must for the turkey soup. When dessert time comes, make your own whipped cream. For every pint, that's 2 cups of heavy cream, add a tablespoon of granulated sugar about a third of the way through whipping the whipped cream. And that I prefer a slightly less sweet whipped cream, especially since the desserts generally are pretty sweet to begin with, but you can, adjust that any way you like. A little bit of vanilla also is a really nice addition to the whipped cream. There's this misconception, I think, that to make whipped cream, you have to have motorboat prop speeds going in that just 1,000 miles an hour. Not so at all. Slow and steady wins the race with whipped cream, and as it happens, a slower whipping of the whipped cream produces a finer butter molecule that it's so anyway, it makes a finer. What's going on is the little pieces of butter, you're sort of making them become friends, and as they become friends and join each other, they're trapping the air. Now, if you do that really quickly, it happens quickly, but it isn't a really strong structural bond. If you go a little bit more slowly, that butter-trapped air holds better longer and is a finer mouthfeel. It's your house. Nobody really cares. That restaurant, that makes a difference. But these are just things that, you can, plus you also actually have control over not over whipping if you go slow. When you over whip whipped cream, keep going. Because now you've made butter and there's no going back. And then clean out the bowl and start again. Friday midday snack in this house is the aforementioned Thanksgiving pizza, which of course is on the blog. We often buy a variety of specialty cheeses just as a sort of snacking thing on Wednesday and Thursday, just for, between the candied or caramelized pecans or peanuts. Sometimes they make little bread twists or the sort of like appetizer or hors things while everything else is waiting to, happen and sit down and eat dinner. But the Thanksgiving pizza with all this stuff is sort of the midday Friday dinner. And let me be clear, said no politician ever, this pizza is not keto friendly. After spreading out the dough in my well-oiled sheet pan, spread out the dressing, sweet potatoes, cranberry sauce, sliced turkey breast, green bean casserole, the cheeses, whatever else you have or want, and bake that on medium high for a good little bit so that the center is the thing that gets done. The edges will get done quick. The center, that'll take a little while. And just to reiterate, make sure the pan is well oiled. It is basically turkey coma part 2 and worth every gram of carbs. I hope you have a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving weekend. Eat well and drink heartily. And if you are in the cyber-minded shopping mode, I would appreciate your visit at my Gifts for Cooks link on the blog. I'll have a banner for that on the show notes page, which is culinarylibertarian.com/60. Now, before I get into the first Thanksgiving, let me tell you a little bit about Anchor.fm. anchor.fm.